Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Today's Tuesday, April 23rd. I'm in a place that I love, that you guys would not believe I love, but I'm at the Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company with my friend Glenn Closson. So let us know you can hear us and see us. The lighting is really interesting here because there is gorgeous lighting everywhere. So if it wasn't just for me and my crazy eyes, we got a thumbs up already. Hey Jessica, hey O'Dallas, happy Tuesday. Super excited to be here. Glenn and I have been talking about this since we did a beer dinner at the Citrus Club, probably before that too. So I'm very excited to be remote. See guys, I get outside the Citrus Club, so does Glenn, but I've got some gorgeous beers in front of me. Rose Kemp, what's up? And we're going to talk a little bit about Glenn because we want to get to the beer, but we want to know Glenn's story, right? So welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so give us a little background on you. You were not born with beer in your baby bottle, I don't think. But tell us a little bit about you.
So I'm actually born and raised in California. I recently moved here about 3 years ago.
He's only a 3-year person. Hey, Brian. Hey, Bonnie.
And loving it so much. Orlando's been great.
From California?
Born and raised California.
But you moved from California to here
Yes.
directly. All right, what part of California?
Down in Southern California, Huntington Beach.
And you like Orlando?
I do. It's been really nice. I mean, the heat gets to me, but other than that, you know, California's a good place to visit, but taxes and crowds kind of keep me away.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. All right, so what brought you here?
Ultimately, I owned a brewery in California, so when I sold majority of that brewery, I saw an opportunity in Orlando and kind of brought everything with me, my resources and assets, and started this company.
All right, so let's back up, right? We're going to go from baby to bottle to brewery.
Right.
All right, so how did you get into the business? What did you want to be when you grew up? And then how did you get to, look, I have to ask everybody that question.
Yeah.
How did you get to being a beer brewer, a brewer?
All right. Well, growing up, I think I put in my 4th grade yearbook that I wanted to be a rocket scientist.
As everyone did. There's no judgment there.
From there, I ended up joining the military straight out of high school. So I went into the nuclear engineering program with them.
Oh, you're a vet?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. See, this is the stuff. This is the part, right? Thank you for your service. That's amazing. Did not know that.
Exactly. So I did 6 years in the Navy. Ended up back in California. Finished my undergrad in nuclear engineering. And
nuclear engineering?
Yes.
Does that help you with the brewing?
It does. There's an engineering aspect with as far as mechanical side of it, more so knowing the different flows, the valves, how to repair things like that. So it helps out a little bit, but I kind of brain dumped it all when I went for my MBA program. So,
oh, you went to MBA too?
Yeah, so as soon as I finished my undergrad, I started getting into finance and accounting. I had a few stints as finance managers at smaller companies in California, and then eventually applied for St. John's University MBA program and studied abroad, so I was able to go to Rome for a year, study in London for a semester, and then ended up in New York.
You're very well-rounded, Mr. Closson. I did not know any of this. All right, so how does that all bring you to being involved in beer? This is your passion. You said that to me earlier off camera. So how did you get involved, and why did you make this like this is what makes you money? This is your money maker now, but it's also your passion and what you do, and that's why Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company is so awesome.
Yeah, so 10 years ago is when I started getting into home brewing. I took a local class at a community college, learned how to home brew as an adult course. We met 3 times, but I ended up getting pretty good friends with the guy that taught it. It was head brewer of Carl Strauss, which is a pretty big brewery in San Diego.
Were you always a beer fan?
I mean, I didn't really indulge in craft beer until about 10 years ago. I didn't know about it. It's just like everybody else, you know. You've seen Stone IPA, you've seen Sierra Nevada, but you don't really grasp that concept because it wasn't as big of a deal back then.
He's a youngin' to be so talented, Bonnie says. All right, so the air came on, which is good, but you're going to have to speak louder as I am. But here's the thing. So did you, I mean, I grew up on Mick Ultra, this is a completely different animal, a completely different world. Why did you want to make the move into craft beers? people don't understand that there's really a difference. Beer is beer, I get that, but these are craft brews. If you could see the delicious things I have in front of me, which we'll show you in a little bit, you'll understand that this is a different world than getting your Mick Ultra or your Miller Lite or your Coors Light somewhere at a 2-for-1 bar.
Yeah, I guess when I started homebrewing, I started with extract, which is a pretty basic way of doing it, where they sell you kind of the extract to create the beer. So it's only a 2 to 3 step process. Then you get into all grain batches where you actually take the grain to create that extract that you just bought. So it definitely becomes more complicated. I think that kind of challenge of really honing in recipes and coming up with your own creative ideas and not just cloning other people's beers, but starting to add your own adjuncts and your own flavors.
So you can add, so immediately when I think of, by the way, they can't see that. Immediately when I think of home brew, the first thing I can think of is you've got a lot of plants growing around, right? And that is not the case. So it could be the case, I'm not judging.
Yes.
But when you say home brewing, you actually get to choose the flavors, which is what you were mentioning earlier. I think a lot of people look at the list, like if you can see this amazing list here, which I'll take a picture and post it later, of the menu. It's got a description as if you are a wine drinker or whiskey drinker. It tells you about the notes and what goes into it. How did you decide, all right, I want to make my own, because it's complex beer?
This was all back in homebrewing, because ever since I've opened the breweries that I've owned, I've hired head brewers because they are way more talented than I'll ever be. But back when I homebrewed, I mean, we would just read online, read magazines, and see what other people were messing with. Each ingredient can be so different, so depending on your barley, your hops, your water, your yeast, what you do to each one of those factors can change the recipe completely. So just tweaking someone else's, like, oh, we tried this, I mean, hibiscus was a big thing to make a beer pink, and trying to get that hue out of it.
We have a pink beer, by the way, which I'm super excited to taste.
That'll be the first one. But overall, yeah, it's just looking at the different mixes of barley to change the color of the beer, the different mixes of yeast. I mean, there's over 100 different styles of just yeast. And even if you took the base wort or liquid that creates the beer, adding that yeast can change it completely on a flavor profile.
So you come here and you go, all right, there's nothing here that I want. I'm going to create my own.
Pretty
right?
much,
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So what was the idea behind it to make it different? And I'm going to do a quick turnaround at the end so you guys can see how beautiful the location is. But what was the idea behind, all right, I want to do something different. I want to make it open. I want to be in charge. I'm sure you want to be in charge. But I also want to direct how things are going to go.
Yeah, so the first one I opened in California, we were the first location in Huntington Beach. So it was more so a location niche that we saw, kind of working with the city to figure out what they required to open a brewery with a tasting room. So that was the bigger challenge. Overall, making the beer, a head brewer definitely has the education and knowledge to do that.
Right.
So my challenges were more so on the side of cutting red tape to work with the city, educate them, see what they required. Because I mean, with all the occupancy and different codes they require, it never really fit the mold that we were looking at with the tasting room. But it was always like, well, you're a bar, so we had to educate. Well, we're technically not handling food. We're technically not doing this.
Right.
So they slowly have been changing the rules, not only in Huntington Beach, but out here in Orlando, which kind of made it pave the pathway for more breweries to open recently.
And so how do you pick the flavors? Because I'm sorry, guys, I love you and I want to hear more of Glenn's story, but the beer looks so good sitting in front of me. How do you pick the flavors? How do you decide this is definitely an in-house beer that we want to brew and we want to put on our menu?
Yeah, so we have a great brewing team. Aaron Anderson's our head brewer, and Caleb McCracken is our assistant brewer. We do brainstorm, but for the most part, we kind of let them have full control, and they've been great on taking it. It's like I said, you look at what the industry's doing, what's working. The newest beer we just did was a Kvike, which is a really unique beer. It's a Norwegian-style ale.
You have to see the names, though. That's why I love it. This is literally one of the reasons why I love craft beer. It's I can ride my Kvike with no handlebars. That's the name of the beer, because you get to be creative.
Yes.
And so, but you want the creativity of the name to reflect the creativity of the beer.
Yes. So
I love that. All right, so tell us a little bit about Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company. Why here? Why where we are? And we are on Alden Road. No, Alden Road. We are right off Mills 50, like Virginia, that whole area.
Yes.
Beautiful location. I don't know what this was before, but it doesn't matter because it's real pretty right now. You bring food trucks out here. I've seen, I mean, we've done events here. It's and the staff are amazing. Why here?
So I've been on the Ivanhoe Village Board for about 3.5 years now. Pretty much when I got here, I met the president and executive director currently then, and they kind of took me under their wing, explained what the vision was, not only for the district, but from the city. Obviously, we knew about the yard for a while now, getting built out there. We have the Lakeshore apartments going right on the north side of Lake Ivanhoe.
Right.
So we just saw it as a great opportunity, not only for foot traffic, but just also having access to distribution, because it is centrally located in Central Florida. So it gives us access to a bigger distribution market footprint.
So when somebody comes in here, and I promise you we're going to taste beer because I'm literally drooling as we speak. When somebody comes in here, the first thing I notice, I can tell you, any viewer discounts, look at you, Gus Grizzard. Of course, just mention the TED show.
There you go.
When I come in here, it's light, there's lots of room, the staff are awesome. Jess is working with us. Normally the music is louder, but we had to turn it off in order to do the show. But then the menu, you look at the menu and go, okay, I want to try one of each. So it's very inviting here. How often do you change the menu?
We usually keep a rotation of about 8 to 10 different beers on style. It just kind of gives a customer a wider selection. So just varying on what varieties, what samples, what season.
And do you change, because there's also, which I love, I think it's really cool of you guys to do this, there's guest taps. So you've got other brewers, right?
Yes.
Who have, you're working with in some way, shape, or form, and you're still putting out their, these are both ciders, the ones that are on here right now, I believe.
Yes.
Look, I do my research a little bit. Do you guys go here? Look, see, people are asking. But I love the fact that you're promoting all over the place. You're promoting. It's not, because you're very local based. This is a local business, a local brewer. He has a real brewmaster on, I didn't make that name up, a brewmaster on site that works with, or Glenn works with him. And I think it's really awesome, the stuff that you guys are doing. I really do. So, all right. And I've been here, by the way, we've done events here, and that's, I want to plug that really fast. We did, Aaron Luden did an event here. We were part of it. The place was packed. There was a food truck out back. So once you've had a lot of beer or wine, which we'll talk about in just a minute, just so you know, there is wine here. We'll discuss that in a second. The food trucks were awesome. The staff were awesome. The vibe here is really cool. And so I think this is a great place for you to come. Parking's great. It's local. You get to see the crazy train go by about once every 20 minutes. All right, so tell me what we have in front of us. We have, I'm going to read just the numbers because they're in front of us for cheat sheets. There's Guavacation, which I love, Bungalow, Tupac, come on, Tupac, and Ivanhoe.
Yes.
So tell us about this. This is a flight, so you can get flights here, yes. So you can try different beers. You don't have to just go for the, we actually tried one of them because I asked Glenn for something light, because Ted's really kind of a lightweight when it comes to beer. But I'm super excited to try these two dark ones down the end. All right, tell us a little bit about what's going on. And let me show you guys, just so you can see, I'll pull it up here, right? Look at that, beautiful. You know which one I want. I want the pink one. Although I'm fascinated by the two dark ones at the end. And then I'm not sure what that pretty little one in the middle is, but look at the presentation. I mean, it's really cool. All right, you go. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, so we'll start on the left side with Guavacation. It is.
Oh, this is Guavacation.
Yes.
I don't know.
It's the pink one. So it has guava and raspberry in it. So it's going to be a Berliner Weiss, which is a northern German style.
A Berliner Weiss.
Yes.
Now, do you sniff beer like you sniff wine?
Yes, you try to get the aromatics from it, for sure.
Listen, I don't know.
You don't twirl it though.
You don't swirl it around and with mama and do all that stuff. You don't want to do that. All right, so this has raspberry and
Guava. So it's a light, easy drinking beer just based on the ABV. It's only 3.6%.
oh my God, Rose, it is yummy. That is delicious.
But it has that slight tartness to it from the actual lacto yeast that we use in it.
The lacto yeast,
Yes,
something
that's
I have
fancy.
not learned. That is so bougie. So it's lacto yeast. What I also love about the menu, which you guys can't see, but again, I'll share later, it gives you the alcohol percentage. Why is that important? I see that on all the menus. Why do you guys do that? Are you trying to get people to realize that that one little beer is going to be like 4 beers from a regular Mick Ultra that you might drink out somewhere else? Or are you just trying to be bougie?
It could be. It does give people an idea of what they're getting themselves into. I mean, there are some heavy hitters. Obviously, the Ivanhoe is 11.1%, so we'll get to that one at the end.
Oh, that's at the end.
Because that's when the show's over.
Listen, the show's over, my friend. This is absolutely delicious.
Yeah, it's so easy.
All right, so when they come up with this is what is this? I want to look because I'm trying to learn. Here's the deal. Oh, Rose is coming? Okay, you should come over, Rose. You're not far. 4 IBU.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So IBU is International Bitter Unit. So like an IPA would have a higher IBU, so 4 IBU is very low. So it's just letting the consumer know that this is not going to be hoppy at all.
Because well, I'm going to talk about hoppy for a minute, but what I want you, the reason I'm asking these questions is because don't tell me you guys walk into these places and know what all these acronyms and then you don't want to ask because you don't want to feel dumb, and they're not like that here. You can ask them questions. So talk about hoppy a little bit because you hear that. Well, do you like a hoppy beer or don't you? Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I really don't know the answer to that. What would be an example of a hoppy beer that people would be able to relate to so they could understand what that flavor means?
Yeah, so hops are super complex because there is the aromatic side, there is the flavoring side, and then there's the bittering side. So it all depends on when you add the hop to the boil that you'll get a different flavor profile. So you're either going to add flavor, you're going to add aroma, or you're going to add bitterness. Bittering hops are at the beginning of the boil, so those are your IPAs that have that higher IBU because it's actually using the alpha and beta acids in that hop that create a certain resin in there that will be captured.
This is so good, right? Because
I'm
I
not
look
even
and I'm
sure.
like, what's hoppy? I mean, I really don't understand, but I love the fact that you can explain it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Maybe if Glenn's not here, you think you won't get that answer. All of these guys know stuff. Everybody who's here is very helpful.
Yes.
That's the other thing. I think a lot of people go into even a winery, a craft beer place, and it's intimidating because you don't understand what's going on. And you can't swirl it around like you say and pretend that white Zinfandel is real good because that's not. But this is delicious.
Yeah.
This is also pretty.
Yes. So this one,
Super basic.
This one we actually brew a pink beer in October, and we donate proceeds to a local foundation to help them with the Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
No way.
Yeah. So last year we partnered with Making Strides, and then this year we're probably going to look at either one of the other local ones that we.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Of course. Why would you not serve that?
Pink beer.
It's pink beer. I love pink. All right, so I want to finish that, but I have a lot of beer going on to my right here.
Yes.
So tell me what is next.
The next is the hazy looking orange one that you said was so pretty.
It's
This one's the Bungalow Belgian Wit Beer.
This is Bungalow Belgian Wit Beer, which is WITBIER.
Yes.
And what does that mean? Why is that important? What does that name mean? This is a little higher alcohol content, 4.8%. Notes of orange peel and coriander. Love it.
Yes.
All right, so tell us a little bit about this.
So, obviously Belgian Wit Beer is a Belgian style. That's basically from the East. We did mention orange peel and coriander, so there's different variations, like a Hefeweizen has banana and clove in it. So it's just a slightly different flavor profile, but it uses the same base beer and yeast. That yeast almost gives it a bubblegummy flavor.
So that's the flavor. This is, I'm guessing. All right, I'm learning, right?
Yes.
This is more yeasty than this.
Both have yeast in it, but the sour, the Berliner Weiss, has that different lacto yeast that we talked about.
Yeah, so you can, if I were to describe it, now that I understand the word yeast, I would probably say this is more yeasty. It's got a little bit of not a bite. You can just tell the flavor is different. How's that?
Yeah.
I think it's delicious, honestly.
So it's definitely the orange peel and coriander that's coming through, but also the yeast gives it that different character.
It's a pretty color. What does wit beer mean?
So it's back to that style. You've probably heard of American wheat ales, but it's also, like I was mentioning, Hefeweizen. So wit beer has that orange peel coriander profile, but Belgian is that.
Hefeweizen is the one where you guys see, I'm guessing, you had the one you see, it's got the tall, giant glass, and there's an orange peel in it.
Usually,
yeah, right. And I've probably had that.
Yes.
It was super popular. And then I was super full.
Yes.
Why Belgian? Why is Belgian in everything?
So it's not where beer came from, but it's where they've pretty much perfected it. If you go to Belgium, you'll find some of the most well-renowned.
That's literally all they drink. I've been. That is literally all they drink. But the great thing about it is even every little area of the city that you're in has their own. It's kind of like Italy, where each city or each block has their own wine that they've made. Yes. It's like neighborhood driven. It's crazy, but I think people are like, why Belgium? Why Belgium? Is it the water there? Is it just because that is where it kind of originated?
It's close. So it's a long story, but the short story is that the actual yeast in the air, so it has wild yeast in the air that they had like cool ships or like open fermentation containers that collected that yeast. And so just a combination of, like you said, the water is obviously high quality.
So there's yeast in the air?
Yeah, most beers back in the day were fermented from open top fermentation where they didn't add yeast. They would just put in the basic ingredients and then the yeast in the air would interact with that and create the alcohol and carbonation.
Is this the same yeast that goes into bread?
No, there's brewer's yeast, which is very specific. I don't know what the term for bread's yeast is.
No, it's okay. Bread's yeast is good.
Bread yeast.
These are basic questions that everybody's afraid to ask, but you know I'm dumb enough. I'm going to ask every question that nobody wants to ask. All right, so this is delicious. So this is the Bungalow Belgian wit beer.
Yes.
And it does have that little bit of an orange flavor. I like the coriander there. All right, so now we're about to move to the dark side. And so I'm fascinated by these. Sometimes a dark beer looks scary. It sounds good, right? So sometimes you have the stout. And I don't even know what any of the names of these are. But you have a stout. You think chocolate. Yeah, it's a tasty episode, George. You should be here. You have a stout, and then you think chocolate, and you're like, oh my God, it's going to be chocolatey. Well, yeah, but it's chocolatey beer. So tell us a little bit about what we have going on next.
All right.
And each glass is unique, which I also love. I mean, this presentation here is absolutely awesome. So this next one is the Tupac.
Tupac Shaporter.
I mean, come on. Tupac Shaporter. All right, so the way that you describe it on here, it's a milk porter. So you're going to have to, first of all, tell me what a porter is, and then tell me what a milk porter is. Please.
Yes. So obviously it's a darker beer. It's going to have a little bit of that chocolate, coffee, roasted type flavor. So we use a lot of darker barleys at the beginning of the phase. That's what gives it that darker color and also those roasted flavors.
Right? I mean, it looks like a shot of espresso, a big shot, but it's delicious.
Yeah, so Tupac Shaporter we're excited about. Our head brewer actually, try not to get complicated, used a lager yeast. So there's ale yeast and there's lager yeast. Lager yeast ferments at a lower temperature at a longer time, and it gives it a lighter mouthfeel. So a lot of porters, they're lower ABV than a stout usually. That's not the actual qualification, but obviously you can see Ivanhoe coming up next is 11.1, whereas our current Tupac Shaporter is around 5.8%, 6%.
Which is, okay, so a porter just means that the yeast it's a different yeast?
We did
Sort
that
of.
specifically for ours.
Okay.
So some porters are brewed with ale yeast, which gives it a thicker mouthfeel. But we were in Florida, and we love the flavor of dark beer, but we don't want that full feeling mouthfeel. We wanted something a little bit I wouldn't say lighter, easier drinking, but it still has the flavor characteristics that a porter would have, but it's a little easier drinking because of that long
Where does that chocolate, because there's a lot of chocolate stouts, they talk about chocolate and coffee.
Yes.
Where does that come from? Because a lot of people will say, and I'm going to play the dumb one here, which is true. So if somebody says it's a chocolate stout, or it's a chocolate porter, or it's chocolate whatever, or there's coffee, I immediately think they've added chocolate and coffee to it. So talk a little bit about that.
So with chocolate, all of that comes from the barley, the initial stage. So barley has two kind of phases. It has the hue of the beer, so the color comes from the barley, but then also a lot of the flavor profile comes from the barley. So if you actually look at the barley that we use, it's very dark, deep, but it has that roasted flavor like a coffee bean, or it has that caramelized or chocolate flavor that you will find in each beer that
so you're not adding, for the record, you're not adding chocolate or coffee to it.
Correct.
But I think a lot of people think that. I mean, until maybe right now, 0 minutes ago. What does that mean? About 0 minutes ago, I did not know that. I thought that if it said it's a chocolate stout or chocolate porter or whatever they say, I thought that there was something infused. I thought that you added chocolate to it. But it's just like wine. So it's not like wine, you're adding the grapefruit to the New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. It's just part of how that tastes, the grape tastes, because of where it's grown and how it's processed.
Yes.
I'm learning. This
Yeah.
is good stuff. I like this a lot. A lot of times when I drink a darker beer, I'm a little afraid that it's heavy, because they tend to be a teeny bit heavier, and I don't know if that's the alcohol content or just the way it's processed and made. But this is lighter. Maybe that's because it's only 5.8% alcohol. Let me ask you, does that have anything to do with it? When I walk away and I feel heavy from a beer, is that alcohol content? Is that how it's made? Is it a combination of all sorts of things? Because there are beers that I feel super full from, and then there are beers that I could just drink like they're water. Maybe they are water.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to that lager yeast. So the ale and lager yeast are going to have some variations on overall mouthfeel and feeling of fullness. Carbonation would be a factor in that as well. ABV slightly, just because there's more barley added at the beginning, so you have higher sugar levels. The yeast kind of reduces those sugar levels, but you're still going to have a lot of sugars that couldn't actually be attenuated in the fermentation process.
Here comes the train.
Train shots.
Train shots, no doubt.
No.
All right, so I love this, and believe me, I'm going to finish all of these before, but I want to taste everything before. Oh my God, it's Rose! She did come up. Oh my God, hi Rose! Hi Rose, come have a sip. Rose Kemp is here. Who knew?
The pink beer.
Here's the pink beer.
So you can sample this. You might like it.
It's delicious.
Right.
So Rose Kemp showed up. Don't you love it? Because we're all local. All right, so normally when I go into a craft brewery place, anywhere, I look immediately first thing, alcohol content. I'm sure that makes me a horrible human being, but that's the first thing I think of because I'm not a beer drinker normally. So we're moving from this beautiful beer here.
Oh, yeah.
Looks similar, right? 5.8.
Yep.
And now we're at 11.1. We've almost doubled the alcohol content. Tell me what we're drinking, the Ivanhoe. Can't make that up. Ivanhoe. And then tell me how that actually happens. Why is there almost double the amount of alcohol content from that beer to that beer? And what does that even mean?
So, yes, so it goes back to those sugar levels. Barley has a lot of processes, so it's not just color, it's not just flavor, but it also gives off the sugar and enzymes that you're trying to capture at the end of the fermentation process. So once you're done extracting sugars from those barleys and you transfer it into the fermenter, you add yeast and you pitch your yeast, and that yeast interacts with sugars and creates alcohol and CO2. So the way that you measure what your actual alcohol is you take an initial sugar level measurement and specific gravity, and then as you measure it daily, you try to get it down to the specific gravity that you're looking for, and you plug that into a calculation, and that difference in sugar levels lets you know how much yeast actually created alcohol.
You know what's funny is you are speaking like you're like in nuclear energy or something. No, I love it. So this is great because I never understood how you got the alcohol content. I want to tell you that the difference between these two, if you can see them, right? So you hold them up. It doesn't look that different here, and honestly, in person, it doesn't look that different. But the flavor is definitely heavier. And by heavier, I don't mean that as a bad thing. I mean it's just it's more complex. That's what I feel like. I almost get molasses. I get like there's definitely a lot more flavors going on in it. But I would not be able to tell the difference. This is me not knowing, right? The difference between the 11.1 and the 5.8 until I tried to stumble my way out of here, and then that might be the answer to everything. Is it like Guinness, Rebecca wants to know? It's got a little bit of a similar, like I get why you're asking that because it looks like that, but I would say the flavors in here are really, really good. I taste a little molasses. I don't know if that's even,
Yes, a little molasses, raisiny.
Raisiny is great.
Coffee, roast, definitely a lot of roast.
But remember, you're not drinking coffee with beer. This is just the flavor, and this is how the process works. What is your favorite? Like, when you, of these four, what's your favorite?
Oh, of these four specifically, I would say the Tupac Porter.
So you like the, I mean, anything that's called the Tupac Porter is a friend of mine. I like this one. I love the pink one.
The guava-cation.
I don't know why. I love that pink one. It's just, if you're not let's say you don't like beer, you'll like this. And that's why I always like people to come and try stuff. That's why I wanted to do the show. Because I think a lot of people think, well, I don't drink beer, I'm never going to like it. Or their only experience with beer is a Corona or a Miller Lite or, God forbid, a PBR, right? So there's a time and a place for that. I'm not judging. But you want to come to a place where they actually can talk to you about it. That pink one, which is the guava-cation, is delicious. Like, I could drink that regular all day long and not feel full. Tell us why why do I feel full after I drink beer? I want to know, because wine does not make me feel full. Is it all in my head, or is it because there's more calories, it's heavier, the alcohol content, what is it?
It's probably the carbonation, because that'd be the biggest variation between wine and beer.
Because people don't think there's carbonation in beer, right? I would have, until you talk about it, I think of carbonation in soda
Okay.
or champagne.
Yes.
I don't think of carbonation in beer.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people ask, why do I get so full? Why am I so bloated? People love bloated, right? Rebecca says the fullness is the gluten and the carbonation. Well, I definitely believe the carbonation for sure. What do you guys do about gluten? Do you have a gluten-free beer? What is your thought process? I don't even know, how do you pull gluten out of beer?
It's tough. There is processes for it, but what we do is, like you said, we have ciders on tap. So we work with Quantum League locally, and they have ciders that offer an option for gluten-free.
So let's talk about that, because I think it's important for people to know. Because you're local, you're a local brewer, but you're also very big. You support the community. And on the menu, there are guest taps. I love this, right? Because we're all trying to help each other out. We're all trying to help the community out. You're trying to help other people grow. And part of that is featuring, you have two ciders, right? Two ciders that are on here. Where are they from? They're both from Quantum Leap?
Yes, Peddler's Hard Cider.
And why that?
We just wanted to support local. Like you said, I mean, that's the biggest thing. We've built our whole business
Isn't Glenn a
model.
nice guy? He's a really nice guy.
We've built our whole business model around community. I mean, you go to our website, the first thing that's on there is a big word that says community. I mean, we've done so many local collaborations. We've done one with Mayor Buddy Dyer, one with Commissioner Stewart, and just kind of being involved in all that with Keep Orlando Beautiful. We've done a lot of events. So I think overall, we know everything that we give to the community definitely comes back and helps us out in the long run.
See, he's a nice guy on top of it. All right, so what's in the future? What's next for Ivanhoe?
So the big thing is this Sunday we have Family Day, which is a pretty big event. We did one last month and we just had a packed house because I think.
What's Family Day mean? Do you have food trucks? Do you have kids can come? I mean, I just want to know what's going on in Family Day.
Yeah, so Family Day we have bounce houses, food trucks, face painters, and balloon artists. So we just bring out a whole thing that allows parents to not be embarrassed to bring their kids to a so
I love it. We have people behind us that I think they don't realize they're on, but they're definitely on. Yeah,
I paid them actually.
You did, as you should. All right, so talk a little bit. Okay, so if you hate, let's say you hate beer, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, they love beer, and you're coming here and you're like, what am I going to drink?
Yes.
There's an option for you.
Yes.
Well, you could drink the pink stuff like Rose has, but there's also wine.
Lots of wine.
There's a lot of wine here. And so talk a little, first of all, there's wine in a can.
Yes.
Look, I'm a big proponent of whatever makes it work. So talk about the wine. And why do you have even wine? Is it because people are like, I don't like beer, but I want to come?
Yeah, so wine is a good option for if the boyfriend or husband is here and they want to try a craft beer. We don't want the wife or girlfriend to just sit there and not enjoy it. And not to say there aren't wives and girlfriends that actually bring their husbands that want wine and the other way.
Correct.
But ultimately, that's what it is to get that secondary option and allow them to have wine as a choice.
And what do we have today? We're going to try one.
Yeah, so this is house wine. It is a limited edition rosé bubbles.
All right, so rosé is one of my favorites.
Oh, perfect.
So rosé bubbles. I mean, how could you go wrong? And he's putting it in what I would consider. You need a princess glass for wine. Yeah, I do, Cat Brower. Thank you for that comment. That was Cat Brower, by the way, Rose. But look, this is a princess glass. It's like a brandy snifter. Oh, it smells good. Cheers. All right. So listen, if you want to drink wine, if you're not into beer, you can still come here. That was, honestly, that was my main thing. When I came for that event that Aaron had, your staff were so good. I sat up at the bar, shocker, right? Well, everything was going on. I didn't move for any pictures. Sorry, Aaron, I didn't move at all. And your staff kept me full of wine. I tried 3 of the beers, which were fantastic. But at the end of the day, I get full. I'm 90. So what happens is my stomach gets full, I'm carbonated up the yin yang, and I need a glass of wine. And the wine is delicious. So this is wine. You watched him. He literally popped it like a beer can, and it's wine, and it's delicious. I've had it.
It's good stuff.
And it's bubbly. It's good. All right, so we're going to share all of Glenn's contact information, how you can reach out to him, how you can have an event here. You want to have an event here. This place is great, but you also want to come visit. You want to support local. You want to come to Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company. You want to meet Glenn. He might not always be here, but you can tell that it's got a great feel here. There's a great vibe. The staff are awesome. You can get pretty much whatever you want and try stuff that you didn't even know you liked, like the pink beer. Any parting words of wisdom for them? Anything you want to say before we head out?
Just the fact of, get involved in your community. I mean, I've moved from California, and I think the main streets is a huge benefit to all of us. The city's done a great job with it, and being on the board of Ivanhoe Village, I'm biased of Ivanhoe Village, but there's 10 other districts, and, we get out and support all small businesses, and I think that's what we all need to do to keep Orlando going the way it's going.
He's just as nice in person as he is on this show. I just want to let you know. So it's not fake at all. Sweet man, great place, great product. Come out and visit Ivanhoe Park Brewing Company. Ask for Glenn if he's here. He'll say hi to you. If not, reach out to him on Facebook. They've got a great Facebook presence, a social media presence. We love you guys. Happy Tuesday. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Well, not here. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on how much pink beer I drink. But we'll see you soon. Love you. Mwah.